Welcome, everyone. I have a very special guest today. My husband, Parker Bowden, is joining us today, and I asked him to join us because he is a former accountant, a former corporate accountant, and he knows a lot about business and LLCs and all the things. He's actually the CFO of my company now, so he helps me with my books and taxes and all that stuff that I don't like or care to know about. And so I actually surveyed my audience and asked them, what questions do you have when it comes to those like basic business setup things? The things that us creative types really don't like to figure out, but it's important for our business. And I kind of organized the questions, and Parker is going to help us out today with answering these questions. So, hi, Parker.
Good morning, babe.
So we're actually together at home, but we're just in our own offices because I only have one mic and he only, anyway, it worked out better this way. So we're both
Yeah.
at home together, but we're just in our own offices. So I have several questions. I'm just going to go through them all. And my husband is very, very smart. He has a very large vocabulary. And so I told him before we started, keep it as simple as possible. Because sometimes when he's talking to me about this stuff, my eyes start crossing. I'm like, what are you talking about, babe? So yeah, we will try to keep it as simple as possible for you guys. Again, we are not your accountant. We are not lawyers, so this is not legal or financial advice. This is just educational for you to then go to your own CPA, your own lawyer to get advice. And a lot of CPAs and a lot of lawyers do have free consultation calls where you can ask them questions before deciding to work with them. So that's also a good place to start. All right, let's do it. So, question number one, when people hear LLC, they think it automatically means lower taxes and legal protection. Which one does it actually do, and which one does it not touch at all?
So an LLC is just a separate business entity from you. And so it legally separates your business liabilities from your personal liabilities. Liabilities are your debts, or this line of business, digital products, is not rife with the potential for lawsuits or anything, but an LLC protects your personal assets, your home, your wages from being included if your business were to be sued. As far as taxes go, typically in this line of work, until you have employees, it's not going to affect your taxes. It's just going to flow through straight to your personal tax return. So there's really no tax benefit to having an LLC. It's just that protection. And it also forces you to keep your financial records separate. So you're not mingling you buy paper towels on Amazon versus you buy a digital product on Amazon that's or a book or something like that to educate yourself. You put those in the business, and your paper towels are on your personal.
So it keeps
Uh,
everything separate,
yep.
finances and liability. So if someone were to sue
Yes.
you, which doesn't ever happen in the TPT world, but just in case, they can sue your LLC, not you personally,
Yes.
which is
Yes.
which is cool. So most of our audience members are sole proprietors, and I do know this. I just want to say this from the beginning. Anyone who has the goal of making money through a business is a sole proprietor, whether you've made money or not. If you have the intent to make money, then you are a sole proprietor automatically. Is that correct?
Correct. Correct.
So we're all sole proprietors until we then form an LLC, right?
Correct.
A lot of us don't have a business bank account yet because we're just a sole proprietor. So our TPT money is coming into our personal bank account, and then if you're still in the classroom, that's coming into our personal bank account. So that's where you're saying maybe separating, it just helps with bookkeeping, right?
Yes, having an LLC, and then yes, the follow-up piece is having a business bank account in the name of the LLC, and then all of your business income gets deposited there. You spend all of the business expenses out of there, and so then it's like a separate person. And that person makes money and spends money.
Right.
And then when you're doing your bookkeeping, that's all in its own piece, and you would present your financial reports to your CPA come tax time, or if you wanted to do it yourself, you would report those on a form, but they would flow through straight to your personal tax return.
So you still just have one tax return, even if you have an LLC.
Yes.
So this is the biggest question I get. When do I form an LLC? How do I know that I'm ready? And I know it's going to vary, but do you kind of have an answer for that?
It's going to vary state by state. In some states, California jumps to mind. California is a very expensive state to have an LLC in, and
$500 or something? Is that right? That's
it's
expensive.
the formation is not that high, but the annual upkeep. If you have an LLC in California each year, you have to pay a 800-year minimum franchise tax. And
$800.
so, yes, now if you live in California, you don't have to form your LLC in California. You can choose another state. A lot of people do. Either Delaware is a very popular state to form LLCs in, Nevada and or Wyoming. Those are all the legal structures that they have created to form LLCs in those states are very business favored. And so a lot of LLCs will form in Delaware, Nevada, or Wyoming. Various benefits for those, but for someone starting out, I don't know that that would be a necessary step unless long term you would like the anonymity. Wyoming is probably the most popular for anonymity.
Meaning people don't know it's your LLC.
Yes, you can form an LLC in Wyoming, and if someone were to look up your LLC name in Wyoming, they would have no way of tying that LLC to your person. They
Okay, I
wouldn't be
feel
able
like
to
this
look
is
you up.
I feel like this is getting too complicated right now. Hold
Yeah,
on. Let's back up a
probably.
second. Because forming, like we live in California and then going to another state, I think that's maybe beyond TPT years, would you say?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, for
so
sure, for sure.
so
Sorry.
this is when he this is what I'm talking about. He's super smart. He used to like form LLCs for a company. So maybe we don't need to do that yet,
Yeah.
but it's going to depend on like so if you're in California, you maybe need to make a little more money before it makes sense for you to have an LLC because you could still and correct me if I'm wrong here, but like let's say you're not ready for an LLC because it's really expensive in your state, like California.
Hmm.
I think maybe New York is also pretty expensive.
Hmm.
Couldn't you just have like a separate personal bank account and you put like your business, like can you just separate it yourself?
Absolutely,
Okay, so
absolutely.
maybe
And
let's start with that before we go forming LLCs and other.
yes, for
Okay.
sure, for
So,
sure.
like at your personal bank, go in and say, "Hey, I want to start funneling all the TPT earnings into a separate checking account and make sure it's a
Hmm.
free one so you're not paying like an annual fee or whatever." There's tons of free checking accounts out there. And then that's it. And then maybe get a debit card just for that separate checking account. And anytime you buy clip art, supplies, whatever for your TPT store, use that debit card. Or you can have a
Yeah.
credit, whatever. Okay. So
Yeah, for
maybe
those
start
starting
there.
out, that would be the number one recommendation
Yeah, that
is
would,
separate bank accounts
yeah.
so that everything's kept separate. You can track that income and you can easily report that come tax time because you will fill out a self-employment income, whether you have an LLC or you're just doing it through your own personal, that would be called a sole proprietor. They're gonna flow through to your taxes the same. So having that bank account separate will make that 1,000 times easier.
Right. Because you pay taxes differently on your TPT earnings than you do for like your W-2 earnings as a teacher, correct? There's like self-employment tax.
Yes, there's self-employment tax. So you're going to pay that whether you have an LLC or not.
Right. But it would
And
just make it
and
easier bookkeeping wise to
yes.
have it separate. And honestly, you can just Google your state LLC. You don't have to use something like LegalZoom to form it. You can just go to your state's website. So make sure it's like a
Yeah.
.gov website. Like I'm pretty sure we formed our LLC here in Georgia just online. I don't think we ever had to go in for
Yeah.
anything, right?
Don't have to go in for anything. Best practices is to use Claude or some other AI to if you're going to go to the step of forming an LLC, have an AI generate an articles of organization and an operating agreement.
Say that again.
Um,
Articles of organization.
Articles of organization and an operating agreement. Not all states require an operating agreement, but it's good practice to have.
Do we
But
have?
yeah, yes, we have that. Yes, you typically go to your Secretary of State. It's going to vary by state. They're all going to have their own website, but you
Okay.
go there and there'll be links to form an LLC or form a corporation, a traditional C corp.
But we just want LLC.
Yes.
We're not a corporation.
No.
So we just look for LLC. I think in Georgia it was like what, $50?
I can't remember in Georgia.
Okay, it's not that expensive.
The national average is around 120, and then each year you have to pay to renew your business in the state, and the average is around 90 for
Okay.
that across the states.
Look at your state and see what the fees are. If it makes sense, you can go ahead and sign up for an LLC. It's going to protect you if someone sues you. Again, that doesn't really happen in the TPT world, but then it also allows you to open a business bank account.
Mhm.
And why would someone want a business bank account over just a separate personal checking account? What are there any benefits? What's the difference?
If you're deciding between just doing sole proprietor and doing it personally or doing an LLC, there is no difference. If
Okay.
you're going to go the sole proprietor route, open that separate bank account in your name and only run your business through that. But
Okay.
if you're forming an LLC, you need a business bank account because any payments you receive from TPT or Stripe or PayPal will get reported to the IRS on the taxpayer identification number. So either your Social Security if you're a sole proprietor, or when you form your LLC, you will also get an EIN for that business. Like it's the company's Social Security number
Right.
effectively. It's just an EIN. And
Okay.
so any payments from your vendors or your payment providers need to go into the business bank account if you have an LLC, because then it will get tied to that business EIN and
Right.
it won't end up being double reported to the IRS.
Okay. So then the order, if they're ready for, and I guess I'm still confused about why would anyone want an LLC then if they can just have the separate personal. But I will say once you start doing other things like, I don't know, hiring a VA or then you really want to like have an actual business where you can kind of separate things, right? Like when you're kind of
Yes.
starting to go that direction, if you want like an email list, one of the things, especially with like Flowdesk, I'm thinking you have to have your address on the bottom of every
Mhm.
email. Well, you don't want your personal address, so you would want a business address. So then
Yes.
that's when you kind of start separating. So then what is the order of things if you're kind of ready to take that step? Get your LLC first, then
Mhm.
EIN,
Correct.
then you do have to have a business address to get a business bank account, right?
No, you can have a business bank account can be associated with your personal address, and that doesn't necessarily have to match the LLC's business address. And so for your email list example, you would want, when you form your LLC, you would want to have some kind of post office box, or there's lots of different providers that provide business addresses, mailing addresses, and you would form your business and its place of operation would be that separate address. So your home address never hits
So you
the
would,
public.
okay, so then the order would be get a business address first, then use that to get your LLC,
Yes.
then get your EIN,
Yes.
because that's a separate thing, and you just do that on the Social Security or what website is
That's
that?
on the IRS. The
IRS website.
IRS. Yes.
And then you can get a separate business bank account.
Yes.
One of the cool things that I have seen from having a business bank account is you can get a business credit card. And
Hmm.
a lot of times they have really good perks. Like, for example, I use a Chase credit card for all of our ads, and they give me 3% cash back on all of our ads. So, I mean, look into business credit cards and the points that you get if you travel a lot. There's travel cards. I don't think that that's necessarily something that people in the beginning need to worry about. And I still don't think we have a solid answer for when is it the right time to set up an LLC. It's just, if you are ready for an email list, you're ready to hire someone, maybe. I don't think there's like a necessarily a threshold on income, on earnings that's like, now I'm ready for an LLC.
I mean, you definitely want to be able to cover the business formation costs, the whatever your state's fees are,
Right.
having that separate virtual mailbox, that's going to be a monthly fee. Those type things, you'd want to be confident that you're going to make that back with
Right.
your product sales. So yeah, I'd say for most people starting out, if they're starting from scratch, give it 6 months, see what your revenues are. And if you're making 1,000, 2,000 a month, yeah, LLC is absolutely right for you, and then you have that foundation. So then in the next year, when you're ready to hire a contractor, or you may want to bring on a VA as an employee, then you already have the LLC formed. And then so your next year, and this gets into assuming the next topic, when you're making around a 50 to 80K net profits, it's kind of starting to make sense to make the S corp election. And
Okay.
so that's a different form, that's a different taxing
Before you go to
structure.
the S corp,
Yes.
can I ask you one question? Because
Yes.
I don't think many people are there yet just from TPT, but I just want to make it clear. So LLC, you said, this is just kind of general advice, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 a month. It might make sense. Also, you just call a CPA in your state that understands kind of like the online business world, and they'll tell you, like, yeah, I think you're
Mm,
ready, or probably not yet. Look up the fees for your state. And I just want to go over the order one more time. So you would get a business mailing address. You could do that through the post office. One thing I will say about the post office is you don't want a PO box.
no.
Even though it is a PO box, a lot of post offices will let you have, it's called virtual address. For Georgia, it was just something, it was like a checkbox that I clicked because we have a PO box. But like when you're forming your LLC, they won't take a PO box. So you want an actual mailing
Yes.
address. And the mailing address
Yes.
is just like the actual physical location of the post office that I go to. I don't think all post offices offer that. So just check,
No.
because I've seen other people say my post office doesn't do that. If not, you can go to places like, I feel like UPS has virtual or like
UPS
mailboxes. Some
does
co-working
them.
spaces will have it.
Co-working, Staples, forget the name of it. They changed a few times. I think it's called iPostal.
iPost, I've
Um,
seen that one, yeah.
those are frequently, like if you had to go physically check your mail, I think they're all in Staples. They may be in some other business supply stores as well. That's one I've used in the past. Another thing to consider when you form your LLC is you'll likely want a registered agent. This typically would not happen in the TPT world, but if the state or any legal entity needed to formally serve your business with documentation, the registered agent is the person or the entity that would receive that for you. And
Okay.
so one of the biggest ones that I know of is called Northwest Registered Agent. It's kind of like a legal Zoom, but they serve as registered agent. They will, for a fee, form your LLC. And I believe you can also set up virtual mailboxes through them as well. And from my understanding, they're the most well-rounded. You can form an LLC in any state, and they will also serve as your registered agent. So you could get all that in one place if you went there. You get the mailing address, the LLC, the registered agent. They would even, for a fee, they would even get your EIN from the IRS for you. So you could go one-stop shopping to Northwest West Registered Agent. I'm not affiliated with them. That's just,
Okay, a question. We don't have a registered agent. Do TPTers really need a registered agent? I've heard that before, but I don't feel like that's something that they really need. I only want to give people what they actually need. I know there's all these things that they
oh,
can.
I know, I know.
Do they actually need a
Um,
registered agent? We don't have one, do we?
I think we're serving as our own registered agent.
Okay. So they
And
could do that as
so
well.
they could do that as well.
Okay.
But that's where you get into, and this is why this is a complicated, multifaceted subject. The registered agent, their address is public knowledge. And so if you don't want your address publicly searchable, when someone searches your LLC name, they can go to your state and see all your formation documents.
I know,
And
but
if
if
so
they
you,
have a business address,
the
then they would.
registered agent there has to be a physical person at the registered agents. So you cannot use like a post office box for the registered agent's address.
And you have to put a registered agent's address when you form an LLC.
Yes.
Now we're getting somewhere. Now we're cooking.
Yes.
Now I understand. I'm like, talk to me like I'm a kindergartner, Parker. I'm so confused. Okay, back up here because I want to make this really clear for our listeners because we were all in the beginning. Okay, so mailing address first, and you gave them multiple places to do that. Then they get their LLC, and they have to have a business mailing address to get their LLC. When they form their LLC, it's going to ask them for a registered agent's address.
Yes.
And you're saying that you can be your own, but if
Yep.
you're very worried about add your address protection, you can pay someone else to be that for you.
Yes.
Who can look up that? Is that public knowledge?
Yeah.
Or is it just the government, if they need to serve you papers, can look up your
No,
registered address?
anybody can, if they have your LLC name, they can go to the Secretary of State that you're formed in, look up the LLC, and they can see every filing that that LLC has ever done. So your formation, if you've got your personal address on there, it's going to be public knowledge. Any subsequent filings in later years, if you do that personally and you forget or you've changed your business address and you put your personal address, that's going to be on there publicly searchable as well.
Okay, so question, if they use like a co-working space for their address, they also are like a registered agent usually because there's someone at the front desk, right? Or you don't.
Yes, but they're gonna charge a fee for that,
Okay, so either way,
typically.
you're gonna have to charge a fee, or you can just be your own,
Yep.
which is what we do. Something to think about. All good things. So, mailing address, business mailing address, LLC. Then go to the IRS and get your EIN. Does that cost money or is
Yep.
that free?
No, that's free
EIN's free. That's like your social security number for your business.
for the business.
Then you can open a business bank account and you need all these things. You need your business mailing address, your LLC name and formation papers, your EIN number to open your business bank account because this bank account is just for your LLC, like its own thing. Okie doke. I think I'm understanding now. I hope everyone else is like, come on, Lindsay, get it together. I just want to make sure. I think we are good on the LLC thing, hopefully. One question I did get, and I don't know what this means, and I don't know if you know what this means. A disregarded entity? What was that?
That's just the LLC is in the IRS's eyes, it's a disregarded entity. Any sole proprietor LLC single member is a disregarded entity. So that person who formed the LLC, if they are 100% owner of that LLC, the IRS disregards it. They don't look at it as a separate entity. And so that's how it flows through to your personal taxes. And there's no different tax basis or they don't tax that income differently. It's just your income.
Got it.
They just pretend it's not there.
Okay.
Yes, you will fill out a separate form on your personal tax return detailing all the income and expenses that the business made, but at the bottom, that number at the bottom of that form flows through to the first page of your 1040, and then it's just your self-employment income.
Okay, so disregarded entity only means that the LLC is not taxed any differently. That's the only thing.
Yes.
Okay. So we
Yes.
don't have to do anything. That's just the IRS saying we're taxing this the same way.
Correct.
Got it. And we are all going to be single owner LLCs in the beginning, right? We are just one person that owns our LLC.
Yep.
And then next steps, and I don't think this is going to apply to many people, especially if you're just on TPT, but maybe if you have multiple streams of income, and like Parker said, you have 50 to 80,000 in profit, not revenue, but profit, right?
Hmm.
So like that's after all of your expenses. Then it may make sense for you to elect to be an S corp and you're still an LLC, but then
Yep.
the S corp part is a way to be taxed differently.
Yes.
And when you become an S corp, you basically become an employee of your business.
Yep.
So you pay yourself through payroll. And then anyone else that
Correct.
joins your team that's full time is paid through like a W-2
Yep.
payroll check.
Yes. The S corp is an election. Whatever year you decide to become an S corp, you could do it, or your tax accountant would file this form with the IRS saying, "Hey, this is my LLC. Here's my EIN. I am now electing to be taxed as an S corp." And so that would now create a new tax form, and you would have to have payroll coming out of that S corp.
Mhm.
Otherwise, one, it's not worth it because you're gonna have to pay your tax accountant to file that form, and you're not getting the if you filed that and you didn't pay yourself, you're not getting any of the benefits.
Okay.
So the benefits are now you pay yourself as an employee of your business. And so you would get a W-2. You'd have to pick a reasonable salary for the work you're doing, and you would have to run payroll like a normal company. withhold taxes, remit those taxes to the IRS, just like if you were working for the school system and getting a paycheck there. They file you a W-2, they withhold your taxes, they pay them quarterly. And so you would now become an employer, and the benefits are now those wages that you pay yourself are no longer subject to that self-employment tax. So you're going to save there. It's going to also boost your withholding. So at the end of the year, you've already paid some of the taxes on the money you've made from this business. And then still at the end, after all of that, your business will now still have a net profit that will flow through as a disregarded entity to your personal income tax return. But the wages you took from those are a valid business expense because you were an employee of the business. And so that net profit line will be reduced by the wages you paid yourself.
So this is definitely
Um,
something where if you're at this level, you need a CPA to work with you on this to help you know
for
like
sure. For sure.
what is a reasonable salary. Like we had a CPA go through all of this with us. We listed out all the things that I'm doing on a daily basis and what is my reasonable salary. And Parker is, an employee. Now we have a few other employees that we pay, and you need like a payroll system. I guess you can do payroll manually, but it makes more sense to have
You
like
could, but it would be
it's very,
challenging
yeah.
and very,
Yeah. So this is something a CPA needs to help you with, not a DIY situation when you're ready to go to that S corp step.
yeah.
Okay, cool. I did have this one question, and I feel like this is only for people who have an S corp, but hiring kids or a spouse legally. We kind of started doing that this year, but that's really you can really only do that if you're an S corp, right? Oh, the
Yes.
tax benefits.
For tax benefits, yes, you can pay employ your family members as employees if they're doing legitimate work in the business.
Right.
If they're under 18, they're exempt from Social Security and Medicare taxes. So that's a way for you to start building a nest egg or a college fund for your kids, and you're not going to pay that Medicare and Social Security. And if they have no other income, the income that you pay them is also receives the standard deduction. So if they're under 18 and you don't pay them over $16,000, they owe no taxes on that money.
Okay.
Now, but that has to be their money. And
Right.
so the child would need their own bank account. They
Right.
would need somewhere for you to pay them. You couldn't just transfer money into your own bank account and say, "Oh, this is my kid's money." The
Yeah.
IRS is not going to they're going to flag that, and you're going to get in a lot of trouble. So the kids would have their own little nest egg building if they're doing work in your business. That's going to also be a payroll expense. It's going to reduce the business's net income. So yes, in the long term, it's going to save you and your family on taxes.
And again, something that you would need to talk to a CPA about the age of your
Yep.
child, legitimate work. Again, we are not
Yeah.
CPA, so this is just questions that we got, and then we're just kind of giving our own personal experience and then plus Parker's accounting knowledge too. One other question, does having an LLC change anything about contributing to a solo 401k or HSA?
It won't affect it. It will be still taxed the same. It's going to get murky depending on S corp and how you're running your payroll, but and absolutely if you're electing payroll and you're doing a 401k or HSA, you need a payroll system.
Like we use
ADP is
Gusto.
ADP is the biggest one. It's very complicated. It's not user friendly.
Yeah.
If you were to be doing this yourself, we use Gusto. It's still complicated. Payroll is it's one of the most complicated things in accounting. And so, but Gusto is a little more user friendly, but you're absolutely going to need a payroll system to help you set that kind of stuff up. But yeah, if you're contributing to a 401k, and you document it properly, that's going to be a deduction on your taxes. If you elect for the LLC, the company, to do a match, that's a valid business expense. That's going to reduce the business income. So again, reduce your taxes there. But if you're only contributing to it and you're not doing a company match, you're just going to get the pre-tax benefits of what you put into the 401k.
Company match is only when they're like an S corp, right? Okay. So if they're just an LLC and they want to have some kind of retirement account, wouldn't it just make sense to go to like a local investment person and say that I want to start investing and they'll kind of tell you what's the best option, right? Or
Yes.
okay.
Yes. That's kind of getting into murky waters and not my area of expertise.
Okay. So
That
go
that
to
that's
like an investment
yes. Go to get a financial advisor.
financial advisor.
Talk to your CPA. They will advise you the best way to do that.
Yeah. Like we use like Edward Jones is a big
Yeah.
company all over the US, something like that. And they can
Yeah.
kind of help you with like a separate retirement account if you're like leaving the classroom or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the last kind of section I wanted to cover is international sellers because all of the information that we've talked about is just for the US. That's where we live. That's what Parker knows about. Can you give us
Yeah.
any information about international sellers and like how they can find information about their own country? Claude?
AI is your friend. Yeah. And even there, I don't know how well AI is going to know about the legal structures of different companies or countries. Yeah, LLCs is, as far as I know, an American thing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sure other countries have equivalents, but they're going to be completely different legal structures. They've got completely different legal systems in other countries.
So reach out to a
Now,
professional.
yes. Now, if you wanted, this would be very, very complicated, but a foreign person can form an LLC in the United States.
Oh gosh.
But again, that's way over my pay grade. I would not know the tax implications and
Yeah.
the steps to go through that, but I know that is possible if someone wanted to do that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I feel like we have a good kind of base level. I just want to kind of recap what we talked about. So, LLC does not affect your taxes. It only helps you separate your personal self from your business. You
Mhm.
can separate your business expenses manually just by having two personal checking accounts in the beginning. And there is no like set number, revenue number for now it's time to form my LLC. Parker kind of gave a general guideline of maybe $1,000 to $2,000 a month, but it depends on your state. If you're in a state that has very high fees, it might not be until you're at $3,000 a month. You
Yep.
can call a CPA in your state. A lot of them will have free consultation calls and you can ask them some questions about that. That's probably the best thing to do. When you decide, okay, I am ready to form an LLC, then the first thing that you need to do is get a business mailing address. You can do that through your post office, maybe you can check, or there's like Staples has them. If you just Google virtual mailbox,
Virtual mailbox.
which
Yep.
doesn't make sense. This is actually a mailbox. I mean, I go and check my mail, but it's not like at your house near me, and there'll be options. You do have to pay for it. I think we pay 60 a year for ours, but that's on the lower end, so it's going to depend
Mhm.
on where you live. So you would get your mailing address, then you would go to your state Secretary of State's website and see what it takes to open an LLC. We were able to do it online. I think most states probably have it online now. I don't know if all
Yep.
of them do though. It'll tell you kind of what you need to do. Parker did mention a registered agent. It is going to potentially ask you for a registered agent's mailing address when you sign up for your LLC. So if you don't want to put your home address, then that would be something that you look into when you're getting your business mailing address.
Yes.
Then once you open your LLC, I don't know how long it usually takes to get that. Maybe a few days. Maybe it depends on the
It's gonna
state.
vary state to state.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was pretty fast for us.
I've had Georgia's back in 3 days. And then other times in my career, sometimes depending on the entity and the structure, it could take up to a month.
So you have to
And
wait
so
until
that's gonna
you
vary.
get like those papers back, and you'll just get like an articles of organization paper from your Secretary of State's office. To print that out because you'll have to use it for
Yep.
like several things in your business. Put it somewhere, make copies. Trust me, I know. Okay, then you will go to the IRS website and sign up for an EIN number, and you will have to have your LLC name to get that EIN number because they're connected.
Yep.
When you get that EIN number, print that out too. You'll get two papers. I'm just thinking, like, for me personally, when I started running ads, you have to have these things. When I started doing text message marketing, I had to have both of these papers uploaded to
Yep.
these different portals. Then you can go into a local branch. or sign up for a business bank account online. Kind of search around and see which one has the lowest fees. That's what I would go with. And
Yeah.
open a business banking account. And then you want to go to your TPT hyper wallet account and start funneling all the money from TPT into that separate business bank account. And any other streams of income that you eventually make can all go into there. Oh,
Yeah.
one thing I did want to touch on. I get this question quite often. So let's say someone has like a tutoring business already and then they have a TPT store. Those make sense to be under the same LLC because they're both
Yeah.
like educational. But let's say
Mhm.
they have like a quilt making business and then TPT. Should they have two different LLCs or like when do you know to form a different LLC?
Personally, if they were different lines of work, I would separate them
Okay.
because if quilt making not rife for liability, but say you're a handyman on the side. Handyman can get sued if
Right.
you build something improperly. And so the handyman should have a handyman LLC and a TPT LLC.
Okay.
Because if the handyman builds a deck improperly and the customer sues him or her, if they're in one LLC, now the TPT income is subject to that lawsuit.
Got
And
it.
so if they lose the lawsuit, they can get all the TPT business too.
Okay.
So really that's the crux of why you want an LLC because it separates your liability. It's a limited liability company. It separates that company's liability from any other company and you personally
Right.
that you
But
have
when it
involvement
comes
with.
to tax time, because you'll have to file, no, it's all together. So we don't have to worry about tax time.
You
Yeah.
you would you would have
It's a different form for each
you would have a
LLC.
different form for each
Is
LLC.
it the 1040 form?
The 1040 is your overall tax return.
Oh, okay.
The form for self-employment income is not coming to mind, but your
Your CPA would know.
yes.
Schedule C?
Schedule C, yes.
Okay.
So you would have a Schedule C for each LLC, and you would list all the business income, business expenses, and then that number at the bottom of your Schedule C will
Goes.
flow through to the front page of your 1040. For if you have 10 LLCs, you'd have 10 Schedule Cs, and then all of those Schedule Cs would add up to one big number whatever line number that is on the 1040, that would be your self-employment income.
And then you would be the self-employment tax on that total.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And then S Corp is something when you are hitting 50 to 80K-ish. Again, ask a CPA about S Corp. This is like next level kind of situation. It has saved us a lot in taxes, so it is a great thing to
Mhm.
look into, but a CPA needs to do this for you because then you got payroll, you got, a different tax filing, W-2s, all this kind of stuff. So, okay, I think we covered pretty much everything that people have asked me. I really appreciate it, babe. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
This is
Thanks for
very
having me.
informative. All right,
Yeah.
guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions, you can always shoot me a message on Instagram. I am at Lindsay Bowden, and make sure you give me a follow while you're there. And I will see you guys next week. Bye bye.